Hello, welcome to Real Stories, the lives of our favourite pop icons told through the stories of people that have known them, loved them and shared the school bus with them. Today, we're all about Jenny from the block.
Something was coming other than just the dance, the voice, the acting. There was a lot going on in that little girl's body.
She was the loud one.
I moved to LA to be an actor, but not like her.
Whoa. Didn't know Jennifer Lopez before, want her on my wall now.
Yes, in the next hour, the life and times of Jennifer Lopez, including selected tidbits from an exclusive interview with her first ever husband, Ohani Noah, plus never-before-seen photos of Jen, headlines, quotes, and the piercing insight of my regular studio experts. Joining me in the cafe from the Sun's Bazaar column, Mr. Gordon Smart. Gordon, can I ask you a personal question?
Of course you can.
Who is the sunshine of your life?
You, Dave Berry.
Bless you, sir. And, of course, the features writer for More magazine, Miss Abby Pethalas. Abby, what more can you bring to us?
You'll have to wait and see, Dave.
Figuratively speaking, I'm on the edge of my seat. Right, let's drop into the part of New York City that isn't on any tourist map, the South Bronx, for the origins of a little girl who grew up to be the most successful Latino star of all time. And in the beginning, she was born to dance. Born Jennifer Lynn Lopez on the 24th of July 1969 in New York City. The little girl that would one day become J.Lo grew up here on Black Rock Avenue in one of the roughest parts of town, the South Bronx. A few years later, the same neighbourhood would see the birth of hip-hop culture, one of many influences for the young Jennifer Lopez. The all-singing, all-dancing mini J.Lo lived out her very own version of Sister Act when she was schooled by nuns here at Preston School for Girls.
I can tell you that Jennifer Lopez looks exactly the same as J.Lo, with the exception of the long, long hair. At that time, while she was in high school, she wore her hair very short, boy short. She was the only one, if you look through the yearbook, everyone had the long, puffy hair with all the hairspray. It was an 80s look. And so I would say in that regard, she was different. She made herself stand out.
Encouraged by her parents to perform from an early age, at 13, Jen would get an opportunity to harness her talents.
Back in 1983, my brother said to me, why don't we actually start a performing arts program for the kids in the neighborhood? He then brought in about 15 girls. One of those 15 girls was Jennifer Lopez. Back in the 70s and 80s, the kids did what they did with whatever was around. So they had the opportunity to come to a facility like this to actually express themselves. And that was Jennifer's way of expressing herself on the stage here through song and dance.
When you look at Jennifer Lopez back then, you know, between those years, 1983 to 1987, that's all she did. I mean, every moment, if you'd catch her in the bathroom, she would be dancing, she would be singing. In the hallways, you'd find her singing and dancing. She was born to be where she is today.
Running home from school every day to attend dance practice, Jen had found her calling, and Kips Bay became a second home.
She was one of the students in our first dance recital ever, and she was also part of the play that we actually did, Jesus Christ Superstar, on this stage here. And now that she probably will get on a huge stage with millions and millions of people watching her, you know, sometimes I'm sure they remember that first or second time they were on a smaller stage and where they actually had their start.
I think I want Harold to be my dad. Maybe not my dad, but perhaps some kind of long-lost uncle who shows up at family gatherings and sits around telling you stories. What you saw there was just a mere snippet of the hours and hours of yarns, stories and tales that Uncle Harold, he had for us all. But, of course, in the interests of balanced journalism and the fact we're only on the air for an hour, we thought we should leave it there. But it goes without saying, thanks, Uncle Harold. Abby, it's that age-old story. Jennifer Lopez grows up in one of the toughest parts of the world, in New York more specifically, and do you think that's contributed to her drive and her ambition to become the global phenomena that she is?
definitely. She is from a really hard-working family as well, and a good family. And I think that gave her the inspiration to work for what she wanted. And don't forget, she absolutely loved dancing, singing and acting. So she was so passionate about it that she wanted to push forward for herself to be successful, but also to get away from the Bronx.
It's a fine start to the show. OK, well, up next in this film you're about to see, Jen leaves the block to try and make it as a dancer. Take a look at this.
After high school, Jen follows her dream to become a dancer and makes the move across the East River, renting a small apartment in the Hell's Kitchen neighbourhood of Manhattan. But the life of an aspiring dancer was a tough one, as Jen said herself. There was a time when I was really down to my last dollar. I'd dance in some piece of garbage rap or pop video for $50 and make it last a whole month. At 19, she leaves New York to go on tour in Europe.
Jennifer was the loud one. Full of life, energy. Look out, here comes Jennifer.
She was like a little sister to me when I first met her, because we just sort of hit it off. We went to Venice. I went, Jen, you know, I'm heading back to the city when this is done. I need to start looking like I belong here. And she said, no problem, and spent the day, literally, running around Venice with me, going from shop to shop to shop to shop until she found just the right jacket. It had sleeves that unzipped, so she unzipped the sleeves and went, look, you can wear it this way, you can wear it that way. When you looked at her, there was a fashion eye there. And you could see that something was coming other than just the dance, the voice, the acting. There was a lot going on in that little girl's body.
Originally hired as a dancer, Jen made her singing debut on tour as well.
She did a couple of pieces in the vocal lines in Cats. She just kept getting better and better and better. So you could see the beginnings of her singing career were right there in that show.
OK, so we've just seen the early jazz hands J.Lo in full catsuit, something I'm sure some J.Lo pet-loving fan out there has dreamt up before. But I must admit, it's a new one on me, honestly. Now, Gordon, her performance on tour in Berlin in 1989 quite literally brought the house down, or in fact, some say the Berlin Wall.
It's a good pub quiz fact, wasn't it? She performed the night the Berlin Wall came down, did the gig, went down, watched the wall coming down. Now, you know, they both happened on the same night, but I don't think we can say for certain that she was responsible for one of the most important moments in European history of the last 250 years, Dave.
Because we all know it was David Hasselhoff. He brought the Berlin Wall down. Right, let's get back to the career of our very driven 21-year-old Lopez. And it was the man who bought a scary movie, one Keenan Ivory Wayans, that would give Jen her next big break.
Yo, I told you, you can't touch this. Why you standing there, man? You can't touch this.
It's 1990, MC Hammer is smashing up the charts, and after dancing her way around Europe, the next destination on 21-year-old Jen's journey to superstardom is Hollywood. Keenan Ivory Wayans is casting in Living Colour, and Jen grabs her chance to get a regular TV job in the show that everyone in LA was talking about.
When we first found out about the audition, you know, the entire city was talking about it. It was really huge, and it was a lot of people auditioning. I mean, for them to just call you and say, you can be on the show, we were just like, oh my God. You know, it was the only thing that was going on for dancers. I mean, that put us on the mark.
In Living Colour gave Jen the chance to appear alongside guests like Chris Rock and Busta Rhymes, as well as two future Hollywood stars that would also get their break on the show.
There's one time when we were doing a scene with Jim Carrey and Jamie Foxx. Now they're like famous, right? And it was basically me and Jennifer the entire week, you know, rehearsing and waiting, talking about boyfriends, but you know, I would go crazy. Go to sleep, you wake up, you go to sleep, and then you go to rehearsal, and only Jim Carrey goes full out. I'm like, how can you do it? And she's like, hey, this is just a job for me. I'm working on my acting career. She was very like focused, driven, direct. I'm like, wow, because I moved to LA to be an actor, but not like her.
Jen's dedication would see her train longer and harder than anybody else on the show.
She'd never forget her cardio. She's like, I have to do my cardio because, you know, I have to work on my weight. Sometimes I'd be leaving the gym and she'd be like, talk to me. I have 15 more minutes. I'm like, I have 5. I back up and stand at the treadmill. She's just, you know, driven.
I hear you, sister. I, too, have to spend that little bit of extra time on my daily cardio regime just to maintain what has become a legendary body. It just doesn't come easy, not with my natural curves. Abby,
Sorry for laughing.
OK, it seems the body for which she became so famous for, along with that singing and acting stuff that she does, was both a help and a hindrance.
Yeah, she said herself when she moved to LA, she was an 8, which is a UK 10, in like a sea of 0s and 2s. So she was surrounded by skinny girls, but she was brought up to be really body confident, and mum taught her never to diet. So instead of kind of hiding away from it, she worked hard, kept everything nice and tight, and celebrated her curves. And, you know, she's got the most famous bum in the world.
She has got the most famous bum in the world.
Come
sorry.
back.
Hi, everyone. Yes. Right, let's move on, shall we? We've seen Jen dance her way out of the Bronx, across Europe and straight onto one of America's most popular TV shows. Coming up, our backing dancer becomes a leading lady, takes on Hollywood, and her first husband, that's right, her first of many, tells us this.
We were like driving home, and when we got to the hotel, to the apartment, she was like, oh my God, I just realized it's inside of me.
Find out what he's talking about in a few minutes when we'll be back with more real stories.